The All-Star break is here. There are 26 games remaining. So who needs to step up to get the Magic where they need to go today on Locked On Magic?
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 14th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, who needs to step up to make the most of the rest of the season? Who needs to step up after the All-Star break? We're going to go through three players that will need to play better and are, in fact, playing better to help the Magic get where they want to go. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Orlando Magic are not where they want to be in the standings. Let's just be real about it. 27-29, they are still 7th in the East. I haven't checked today's results. Let me pull that up real fast. 27-29, 7th in the Eastern Conference, leading the Southeast Division, a half game ahead of the Hawks for 8th, a half game ahead of the Heat for 9th, 2.5 games back of the Detroit Pistons, who are 29-26 for 6th, and just a mere 3.5 games back of the Milwaukee Bucks for 5th. They're not where they want to be. We expected the Magic to comfortably make the playoffs. We expected the Magic to compete for home court advantage. And undoubtedly, injuries are a big part of this story. And undoubtedly, there have been a lot of players who have not lived up to the expectations. A lot of players who have regressed. You don't have the kind of season the Magic are having without some regression. Frankly, surprising regression. You might expect some inconsistency from young players, but there are a lot of veteran players on this team who have not played the way that they needed to play. And we're going to get to two of them here in a minute. A big part of this, though, is there is still time. Maybe not time to salvage the entire season, but still enough time to make good on what's left of the year. Still enough time to make this season worth it, or make this or recoup some value or give confidence for next season, or retain value for next season too. There are still 26 games left. And as Wendell Carter said before Wednesday's game against the Charlotte Hornets, these are the most important 27 games of his career. They played Charlotte, that was 27. These are the most important 27 games of his career. You could say that about a lot of players on this team, to be perfectly honest. The Orlando Magic are undoubtedly going to change. They are undoubtedly going to enter this offseason looking to be aggressive, looking to shift things around. Continuity only works when you're winning. And the Magic at under 500 and not achieving their goals are not winning. But offseason stuff is for the offseason. The Magic will be who they're going to be. They're going to do what they're going to do after the season ends. Right now, today is about what can they do with the group they have. What can they do to be the best version of this team? That's all that matters. And there is plenty for them to work on. So let's start. Who needs to step up? Who is under the microscope? Who is under the most pressure as the season concludes? I'll grant you this. I'm not going to get into him. We'll talk about him later. Paolo Banchero is obviously under a lot of pressure, but no one's concerned about his spot on the team. Everyone, at least that I know, is kind of whisking away his struggles and his frustration since he coming back from the injury. The Magic need Paolo Banchero to play better to get where they want to go. And look, he's put together back-to-back really good games, or at least solid enough games against the Hornets and the Hawks. The Magic are still very much in the fight, but they're going to go as far as Paolo and Franz take them. No, instead, I want to shine the spotlight on one of the Magic's rising stars, one of the players who will be playing in Friday's Rising Stars game in San Francisco. This is the time where the Magic need to figure out who Anthony Black is. When Wendell Carter said these are the most important 27 games of his career, I'm willing to say these are one of the most important 27 or 26 now games of Anthony Black's career. I think it is very easy to assume. I think it is fair to assume that the reason why the Magic did not do anything at the trade deadline is they were unwilling to part with Anthony Black. They were unwilling to part with Tristan Silva. They're unwilling to part with their two best young prospects that could be available, that are kind of coming off the bench, that teams might have interest in. And ultimately, what I think, beyond just what the Magic need from him for the playoff chase and for the rest of the season, I think that the Magic are going to decide over the next 2 months whether they're going to be willing to put Anthony Black in trades. Whether he is the piece they're going to have to be willing to give up to take the next step, or where the threshold, what kind of player is the threshold to move Anthony Black. Now, again, I really despise thinking of players only in terms of their value and what they can bring in trades, but that is the reality of the league. You are always an asset. You're always a stock that needs to be bought or sold. I hate it. It's the worst part of this business, but that's the reality. And Anthony Black has had an inconsistent season. I think he's better. I've seen people disagree with me on this. I think he's a significantly better player this year than he was last year. He's doubled his scoring average to 9.3 points per game, but he's not much of a passer of 3.4 assists per game. While his defense is fantastic, his offense is inconsistent. His willingness to shoot, his aggression is always up and down. He's shooting 41.8% from the floor and 28.2% from beyond the arc, with just a 46.2% effective field goal percentage. Everybody on the Magic always tells him to be aggressive. And yet, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he doesn't want to take that step. Sometimes he is easily fading into the background. Now, one of the things that has helped him of late is that he's coming off the bench. When he was a regular starter, so for the period from January 21st to February 3rd, big losing stretch, 7 games, had 6 starts, 7.4 points per game, 36.4% shooting, 7.9 field goal attempts per game, 42.9% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. 1.3 steals, not terrible numbers, but not contributing a ton. Since he started coming off the bench in the win over Sacramento, not only the Magic 3-2, which is a minor victory for how they played over the last few months, not only the Magic 3-2, but Anthony Black is averaging 13.4 points per game, shooting 54.5% from the floor, 40% from 3, with 3.2 assists per game, and 1.8 stocks per game, including 1.4 steals per game. The Magic are plus 10.2 per game with Black on the floor. The aggressive version of Anthony Black is a good player. The confident version of Anthony Black is a good player. It's the player the Magic want. Now, he may not be the point guard or ball handler the Magic want, but he can attack downhill. He can force the defense to react to him. And because he's not much of a shooter, he's going to get open shots. If he shoots them confidently, he will make teams pay. He had 20 points in the win over the Spurs. A really good, great game there. 8 for 9 shooting, 3 for 3 from 3. He had 18 points in the win over the Hornets. When he scores, the Magic score. When he does well, the Magic typically do well. That is part of the reality. And look, he's had strings of these games before. A lot of them coming off the bench, where he will score points in bunches. Since coming back from his back, on the time when he came back from his back injury to when he started starting again, from January 6th to January 19th, 7 games, 11.6 points per game. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, only 12.5% from 3, 40.3% overall, but he showed that he can score. What the Magic need from Anthony Black is they know they're going to get his defense. They know they're going to get that part of his game. What they need from Anthony Black is aggression, is confidence, is someone who is unafraid and will make teams pay for leaving him open, even if that's taking up space and getting to the basket. That's what the Magic need from Anthony Black. He's got to step out of the shadows. He cannot be a bystander in this offense. He must attack. And if he does that, he's going to make a place for himself on this team in the future. He's going to make the thought of trading him seem ludicrous. But he's got to be the one to do that. He's got to be the one to take that step, to be that player. And that has been the question mark. That has been the uncertainty to this point in the season. Anthony Black has to be consistent, and that's the toughest thing for young players to be. But he's taken some major steps forward over the last few weeks, and hopefully that is something that continues to last. Let's talk about the veterans then. 2 veterans who have struggled this year and 2 veterans showing some signs of life. We'll get to Wendell Carter and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. The swoosh you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in the game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. There are a few ways to take advantage of this deal. After an epic 50-point performance, you can celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot, delivered straight to your door. Or if you're staying up late watching highlights and just need a midnight snack, you can use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in any game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. It's been a rough season for a lot of players, as I mentioned. But, Anthony Black, you expected some ups and downs. You knew he was a struggling shooter, and hopefully this season gives him some confidence. He starts developing that shot a little bit more. But he's a young player. You're kind of happy with what you can get. And look, the Magic are calling on Anthony Black to step up and to do more and to be more. This is a big piece of the puzzle for the Orlando Magic. But the Magic need their veterans to show up to. And that has been a frustrating part of the season so far, is that some very key veterans who you at least believed you could get a baseline from have not played to their ability, have not played the way that they are expected to. Wendell Carter is having a career worst season. There's just no getting around it. I am on record. I'm a Wendell Carter supporter and believer. I believe in what he does. I also agree that he's probably not the center for the long term. But I know Wendell Carter is significantly better than what he has shown the Magic this season. He's averaging 8.8 points per game, a career low. He is shooting 45.7%, a career low. He's shooting 20.2% from three, a almost career low. His rookie season, he shot 18.8%, but that was only on 0.7 attempts. He's now shooting 2.2. His field goal attempts are down to 6.8 per game. He's at a high of 11 in the 2022 season. He's shooting only 2.2 3-point attempts per game. He's just not getting enough shots. On top of this, 7.1 rebounds per game is about what he averaged last year, so at least that's the same. But his weaknesses have become more apparent as his jump shot betrayed him. Because Carter's not been able to give the Magic much on offense, his defense is a little less pronounced, especially because Goga Bitadze is a highlight defender. He gets the blocks. He makes those plays that Wendell Carter doesn't make because Wendell Carter is not a leaper. I think ultimately the Magic want a version of Wendell Carter that is a little bit better of a shot blocker. Not that Wendell's a bad shot blocker. He's just not a rim protector. And someone who can spread the floor as a shooter. If they could get, I know Miles Turner's asking for $30 million a year, but if they could get Miles Turner, they'd love a player like Miles Turner. They kind of want Wendell Carter to be a less athletic, less big Miles Turner, which Again, maybe not the best thing in the world, but can get the job done. The Magic have not gotten a lot from Wendell Carter this year. And Wendell will be the first to tell you again. He said it after practice the other day. He knows these are the most important 26 games of his career. He's got to prove that he could still be a starting level center and that he's not about to fade into the abyss. Now, he's got that long-term deal. He's got to make that long-term deal look a little bit better. No doubt about it. And Carter's got to try and get healthy, and he's been relatively healthy. But something else has happened to Carter this year. Not only did he have the early season injuries, foot injuries at that, which are really difficult for big men to recover from. Just think about how important your feet are, and then imagine you're 270 pounds and how important your feet could be. Those put him behind the 8 ball. And then Goga Bitadze emerged. Then the injuries hit, and Wendell Carter had to start at power forward. Then Goga Bitadze got hurt, and Wendell Carter had to start again. All while finding his rhythm, which has been difficult for him. Whatever his foot issues are, whatever his knee issues are, whatever athleticism he has and lift and jump and burst that he has have been taken away. Wendell Carter is very much playing physically with one arm behind his back. Fair or unfair, excuse or not, that seems to be the case. But I'm here to tell you Wendell Carter is taking steps in the right direction. Ever since he started coming off the bench with Goga Bitadze's return. So this is starting with the West Coast road trip on January 30th, 8 games ago. Wendell Carter's back up to 9.1 points per game. Modest, not crazy. 6 rebounds per game. Again, modest, not crazy. He's doing this about 22.5 minutes per game. But he's shooting 52.9% from the floor. Again, on a modest 6.4 field goal attempts per game. And while the 3-point shot's not there, he's getting the line for 2.6 free throw attempts per game. That's 76.2% shooting. He's starting to show some signs of life that jumper is coming back around, at least the 18 to 20 foot jumper, not the 3-point jumper. And he's playing a lot better. Just look at his game against Charlotte on Wednesday. 11 points, 11 rebounds. He was doing some great work bodying up Yusuf Nurkic and really working well around the rim. Yes, I know he missed some layups. I know he missed some shots where he had to kind of regather and burst up, and defenders are able to crowd him because he doesn't have the burst that he needs. He doesn't have the lift that he needs. But he also had some nice dunks. He also made some smart plays. He's not Wendell Carter 2 years ago. He's not a Wendell Carter that you wanted to give an extension to. But he's a Wendell Carter that can still play a role for this team. And again, this episode, as much as we're going to talk about some long-term issues, is and because the rest of the season does help inform what the Magic do beyond this season, this isn't about what the Magic can get or what the Magic need to do in the offseason. That's not the main concern right now. The main concern for the Magic is how do we get the most of this team right now? And if the Magic are going to go where they want to go, they need Wendell Carter to be useful. They need him to be closer to what he was over the last 3 years than what he's been over the last 2, and this season and last season. Because if Wendell Carter is an effective jump shooter, if he's an effective passer, if he's an effective screener, if he's an effective defender, the Magic are a better team. May not be the answer for the long term. We can discuss and debate the extension on another day. The Magic need Wendell Carter right now. And like I said, I might be alone on this island. He is making some steps forward. He is taking some steps to be just a little bit better. The Magic are going to need him. Goga Bitadze's been wildly inconsistent. While his defense has still been solid, his ability to finish around the basket, his ability to get those offensive rebounds, it hasn't been the same since he came back from the concussion. Again, hopefully, I think everyone is hoping that the All-Star break allows everyone to kind of refresh themselves, get off their legs, get themselves kind of back in shape, get themselves refocused a little bit, take their mind off of kind of the drudgery that has been this season, the difficulty that has been this season, and allow this team to move forward. Wendell Carter is going to be important down the stretch, but maybe not as important as our last player that we need to talk to. Let's chat Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and where he is still struggling, coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there is no better place to get in on that than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same game parlay. FanDuel's live betting feature is great because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your favorite team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, you never feel like you miss your chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Obviously, the Orlando Magic added one major piece to this team. In a summer that was all about continuity and believing in the internal growth of this roster, the Magic replaced one starter with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He seemed like the exact kind of player the Magic needed. A strong defender who would fit in seamlessly with the team, and he largely has, and a veteran that could give them championship experience. But most importantly, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was here to be an excellent shooter. A player who has shot better than 40% from three times in his career, all of them since 2021. A player who is now a career 36.5% three-point shooter. A player who had shot better than 40% in 3 of the last 4 seasons and had shot better than 38% in all 5 of his previous seasons and 6 of the past 7. Believe you me, there is no hint, no idea that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope would have the kind of season that he has had. Shooting a career worst 30.9% from 3. He shot 39.9% from 3 as well in the 2016 season, but even then he averaged 14.5 points per game. This year he's at 8.7 points per game. He's shooting 7.4 field goal attempts per game. He hasn't shot that few since the 2020 season with the Lakers, his first with the Lakers. He has been a player who has had a difficult time getting involved. And while there is some speculation and some thought that maybe he is nursing through an injury, the reality is the Magic signed him to be a shooter, to be their three-point shooter, to be their floor spacer. And while he may have that respect and gravity still, he has not delivered on that promise. I don't know what the Magic do. If the Magic know and understand he's fighting through an injury and it's not himself and they believe he'll bounce back, then the Magic will stick with him. If he's not able to do that, then the Magic probably need to consider cutting bait. Like so many other players on this team, there is a lot on the line. Whether the Magic want to stick with the Kenny experience or experiment, whether the Magic decide to try and cash in that value, is going to be determined over the next 26 games. And Kenny needs to start delivering on what the Magic need from him. If Kentavious Caldwell-Pope becomes a reliable and consistent three-point shooter like he has been his entire career, then the Magic become a significantly more dangerous team. I would mention as well, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is shooting a career best 57.8% on 2-point field goals, but on a career low 2.8 2-point field goal attempts per game. Part of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's problem, while he is shooting more 3-point attempts this year than he did last year, is he's just not touching the ball enough. And that is a problem within this offense that is so dependent on Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner. And with the team's lack of shooting and spacing, they're having a tough time spreading the ball around to their sharpshooter. If anything, the experiment that the Magic are learning perhaps is the Magic need a player different than what Kentavious Caldwell-Pope gives them. But like Wendell Carter, I'm willing to say things are looking up just a smidge better. I'm not going to pretend they're exactly where they need to be. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is shooting 34.5% from 3 since January 1st, since the start of the new year. Taking out a lot of that, going back to, let's say, the road trip. Dating back to January 27th, the last 8 games, he's down to 28.6%. So it is still an up and down road for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's been everything the Magic want him to be. They needed the shooting. While he's been a great fit defensively and perhaps is being asked to do too much or is not being involved enough at all to get the rhythm that he needs, the Magic need Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Again, we could speculate, we could think a little bit about what this means for the offseason, but he's still got 26 games to prove who he is. And if anybody needs an all-star break, it's probably him. Give him some time off. Let's see if he comes back, looks a little bit sprier, looks a little bit healthier, looks a little bit better for this team. But the Magic are going to need Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. There's no getting around it. There's no changing it. They need him. They need him. They need his shooting. They need him in every facet. And that's going to be one of the big keys for the Magic. If Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can find his shooting stroke, it doesn't forgive the season to date, but it shows us that, okay, this was about injuries. This was about just the team being off kilter. This was a blip. But Kenny hasn't shot well. Like, there's no getting around it. There's no changing it. That's who he's going to be this year. These last 26 games are the chance to change that. It is the chance to show that he can be more, that he can do more, that he is more. And the Magic need to see that from him. So far, all three of these players, Anthony Black, Wendell Carter, or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, have had their moments. But overall, they have also not given this team what they needed, considering the circumstances of all the injuries and considering their goals and expectations for the season. Outside of Paolo, Banchero, Franz Wagner, and really Jalen Suggs, there are a lot of questions about this roster. I tell people all the time, frankly, the issue is personnel. And a lot of that personnel are players who have not played the way they were expected to. Have not stepped up, however you want to describe it. If the Magic are going to make a push to get back in the race for sixth, get to where the Detroit Pistons are, it's going to start with these three players. And if they step up, they'll lift other players up with them. Cole Anthony's already recovered. He's already a reliable player and scorer for this team. Getting Jalen Suggs back is going to make the defense better. But the Magic need these role players to play well in these last 26 games if they want to be a playoff team. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, search your tuning in Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all Philly Style podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Enjoy All-Star Weekend. We will be back Monday to get you ready for the post-All-Star edition. So we'll recap how Anthony Black and Tristan Da Silva did at the Rising Stars, as well as Mac McClung in the dunk contest, plus plenty more. We'll talk to you all on Monday. Have a great All-Star Weekend. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.